US President Barack Obama is heading east on Saturday to build ties with countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Among them is Myanmar, long considered by Washington a pariah state. Well, for more on the reasons behind this visit, here's Daniel Wagner. He's head of cross-border risk consultancy firm Country Risk Solutions, joining me now live from the USA. How has it come about that for the first time an American head of state is travelling to a former international outcast?
Well, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? Mr. Obama certainly has not made a secret of the pivot of American from a military perspective to Asia. And look, it's an opportunity, I think the Obama administration would say. Here is a state that has clearly made its own pivot toward the West and toward America. And although Mr. Obama might be criticized in some quarters by perhaps rewarding them too soon by actually going and paying them a visit, I think Mr. Obama wants to make sure that they get to the finish line. The finish line in this case being, come over to our corner. You've been in China's corner for long enough.
So how will China, particularly bearing in mind it's got a new leadership, how will they respond to that?
Well, first of all, I'm not so sure that the, quote, new leadership in China is all that new. Most of it is composed of very conservative elements who were not likely to change very much from what was China of the past. I think China's got a dilemma here because, on one hand, they could be antagonistic toward the pivot and make Myanmar an enemy, but I don't think that's likely to happen. I'm hopeful that both America and China will see this as an opportunity perhaps to work together, if you will, with potentially collaborative interests. Let's not forget, China has a very long history with Myanmar. Since 1989, they've been their primary supplier of military. They've been their primary supplier of imports. So the relationship there is very, very strong. And America sort of coming to the party at this stage of the game doesn't necessarily represent much of a threat to China.
Will Myanmar benefit from this, or will it feel as if it's being pulled apart by both interests?
That really depends on how they choose to handle this going forward. There's a lot that Myanmar still needs to do in order to, quote, make it to the finish line from the West's perspective. They've gotten a good start, a credible start, but there are so many things that need to be done, from regulatory reform to prisoner release to making a more friendly foreign investment climate. I think they're going to have their eye on the prize. Their eye on the prize is a long-term pivot toward the West that demonstrates diplomatically, militarily, economically, that it wants to proceed in that direction and that it's bound to stay there. Mr. Obama is only going to be there for 6 hours. It's not like it's the centerpiece of his trip. So I think we need to keep things in perspective.
Do you see Myanmar's transition to a new era a successful one, considering all the turbulence and volatility around the rest of the world? Is in some ways, can it be seen as a success story?
Well, in some respects, it already is a success story. Let's not forget where they were just a year or two ago. Still that pariah state, still closed, still imprisoning Aung San Suu Kyi. They've come a long way since then, and they know they have a long way to go. My hope is that they will take some very bold strides and demonstrate to the international investment community, for example, that Myanmar is a safe place to invest. So far, the investment law that they've come up with hasn't gone far enough. But I think in terms of starts, it's as good a start as anyone could hope for. Let's not forget Aung San Suu Kyi herself has warned the West about some of the perils about having a relationship with Myanmar and investing there. So time will tell.
Daniel Wagner, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. Joining us live there in the USA.